It's time to welcome Slovenia to the ever-growing list of nationalist populist nations. With their installment of their new prime minister, the nationalist right has broken through another desperate attempt by the center-left to block them from power. So we're going to take a look at what's going on in Slovenia and how what happened there is really nothing less than a foreshadowing of what promises to happen throughout Europe in the months and years ahead. You're going to absolutely love it. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you always. A happy Thursday to all of you. If this is your first time here, I post 2 videos a day analyzing current events in light of super awesome conservative trends so you can live in the present in light of even better things to come. So if you haven't already done so, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. It'd be an absolute privilege to have you as a regular part of this channel as we together celebrate the inevitable collapse of left-wing globalism and the unstoppable rise of a new conservative age. Before we get into Slovenia's new official nationalist populist government, doesn't that sound wonderful? Make sure to download your free gift, which we just put together just for you. We're calling it our Fake News Antidote, which is a compilation of about 20 news sites that I go to each and every day. And you can download it completely free at the link down below in the pinned comments section. I think you're going to really enjoy it. It was, of course, a pleasure to put together for you. And finally, many health experts now agree that consuming collagen is as crucial as it gets to renew and revitalize how you look and feel. It's being touted really as the greatest supplement to ever hit the market. It can do wonders for reducing wrinkles and strengthening hair and nails, supporting healthy, pain-free joints, which I need, reducing cellulite, and even boosting metabolism and dropping those unwanted pounds. But did you know that most collagen supplements do not work at all? I mean, actually, literally, next to no benefit. So I encourage you to watch the free video at my site, healthwithsteveturley.com, or simply click on the link below to learn about how to go about choosing the right collagen for you and the proper way to use it. That's healthwithsteveturley.com. All right, so let's dive right in here. Some great news coming out of Slovenia. Janez Jansa, who's the leader of the nationalist right Slovenian Democratic Party, they're also known as SDS, he has officially been appointed as Prime Minister of Slovenia. Now, just to give you a sense of things, Janez Jansa is good friends with the Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who's, of course, a hero on this channel. He was heavily supported by Orban, as was the SDS, the Slovenian Democratic Party, in their last national election that goes all the way back to June of 2018. If you don't know, Slovenia is the homeland of our First Lady, Melania Trump. It's a former republic of Yugoslavia, and it has up until now been considered a relatively moderate nation, politically speaking, in terms of its commitment to center-left, pro-EU politics. But the Slovenian Democratic Party, the SDS, under the leadership of Janez Jansa, has, I think, along with much of the population of Slovenia, transformed your standard social democratic party to a thoroughly pro-nationalist, pro-populist, very traditionalist, right-wing political party, standing for conservatism, nationalism, populism. The SDS is the more mainstream nationalist party. They're a lot like Fidesz in Hungary. The ideology of SDS is conservative, respecting traditional values, supporting patriotism, nationalism. The SDS's stated vision, I'm quoting from their platform here, their stated vision is to protect and defend European civilization and their common Judeo-Christian heritage. They strive, and again I'm quoting them here, to create the sense of Slovenian national identity and patriotism and to preserve Slovenian cultural identity. All right, now this is precisely how Janez Jansa campaigned in their last national election. He campaigned on a thoroughly Slovenia first platform. He and his party, SDS, are solidly pro-border security. They stand against the EU's immigration quotas. Much to Brussels' dismay, they'll now be a strong supporter of Viktor Orban in Hungary, and indeed the whole of the Visegrad Four, which, if you don't know, includes Hungary, Poland, the Czech Republic, and Slovakia, all of whom are currently being sued in some way, shape, or form by the EU over their unwillingness to accept the immigration quotas imposed upon them by Brussels. Well, now they have a new ally in their fight against the EU. Like Viktor Orban in Hungary, the SDS, the Slovenian Democratic Party, believes that the money allocated to support immigrants should be used instead to build security fences around their borders. So there's no question that Brussels just got another big headache in the form of a resurgent nationalist right in Slovenia. Now, the Nationalist Populist Jansa will be replacing the previous Prime Minister, Marjan Sarek, who's a leftist liberal, who had to resign because his coalition of 5 center-left parties struggled to get bills through Parliament, such that the government effectively stalled there. And so he stepped down as Prime Minister, and he actually called for new elections. However, before that happened, a new coalition of 4 parties centered around the Nationalist Populist SDS, the Slovenian Democratic Party, ended up forming, and as a result, we now have Slovenia as the newest member of the ever-growing family of nationalist populist governments in Europe, and indeed throughout the world. So welcome home, Slovenia. But as I alluded to, this was a long time coming, and it serves as a bit of a lesson for those of us who love the rise of nationalist populism throughout the world in terms of patience. Remember, this coalition took over 2 years to form. It all goes back to June of 2018. Slovenia had their national election, and the Nationalist Populist Anti-Immigration, SDS, the Slovenian Democratic Party, they got by far the most votes. They won the election with over 25% of the vote. They were, of course, led by Janez Jansa. And they won on a very strong Slovenia First nationalist populist campaign that clearly reflected the hearts and minds, the sentiments of a significant percentage of the voting public, at least a quarter of the Slovenian population. So the SDS came in first place with over 25% of the vote. And just to give you a sense of the significance, the strength of their support, they were followed in second place by the populist left LMS party, who only got 12% of the vote. All right, so the nationalist SDS had over double the support as their second place finisher. And then in third place, oh gosh, in third place came the Social Democrats with about 10% of the vote. Now, yeah, I'm laughing because we're seeing the same pattern in Slovenia as we're seeing throughout Europe that we talked about on yesterday's video, which I loved putting together for you. If you haven't seen it, I think you're going to find it very, very informative. It's a little longer than normal, but if you click on the link, it's called Why the Left is Losing and Why They're Not Going to Be Able to Recover. It's based on some pretty impressive scholarship that shows that the center left is basically disappearing in Europe. All right, I'll pin it down below for you as well. So the center-left Social Democrats got barely 10% of the vote. So altogether, there were about 25 parties up for election in Slovenia's representative parliament, but only about 9 of them, I think, ended up with seats. Okay, so this is going a couple years back. Now, obviously, the winner with getting 25%, there's no clear majority of seats in Slovenia's 90-member parliament, and so we immediately heard the same nonsense that we've been hearing in Sweden and Germany and Spain and Estonia, where all the other parties announced, we absolutely refuse to work with the SDS. They're all a bunch of far-right, radical right, neo-Nazi, fascist nonsense, right, that we hear about the Sweden Democrats and the AFD and the Alternative for Germany, Vox Party and the Estonian Conservative People's Party. And that's why they had this strange coalition of the left these last 2 years. But then the dam broke. And you had 4 other parties that basically said, forget it. Let's just form a coalition with the SDS. And now they have a solid governing coalition. And that's precisely what you can expect to happen in virtually every other scenario throughout Europe. Either the mainstream right will begin to eventually coalition with the Nationalist Right Party, like the AFD or the Sweden Democrats. It's going to happen at some point. Or they're simply going to absorb the Nationalist Right Party and become what we like to call Nationalist Populist Light parties. They'll basically adopt the Nationalist Populist platform as their own. We saw this with Fidesz in Hungary, Law and Justice in Poland, United Russia Party, Austrian People's Party, New Democracy in Greece. Of course, the Tories in Britain and the Republicans in the United States. They're all now more or less nationalist populist light parties. Now I know, I know we shouldn't gloat. I know. Stop sending me emails saying, don't gloat, it's not right. But But Brussels. I mean, you got to remember, Slovenia till now was the holdout among Central and Eastern European nations, all of which are more and more embracing the so-called far right, the nationalist populist right. Not Slovenia. Up till now, they were the reliably center-left, pro-EU. In fact, they were the first of the former communist nations to join the EU, if I recall correctly. Well, that's all over. I mean, in fact, the other so-called far-right party in Slovenia is called the SNP, the Slovenian National Party. They got about 5% of the vote back in 2018. They're a more marginal party, but the combination of their support together with Jansa's party means that 30% of the Slovenian electorate has voted for a thoroughly nationalist populist Slovenia first government. So there's no question that Slovenia has turned away from the pro-EU center-left parties and has begun to embrace a government similar to that of Poland and Hungary. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the SDS has the very strong support and endorsement of Hungary's Viktor Orban. And so this new coalition means, Brussels is dealing with the nightmare that Orban's influence is spreading beyond Hungary. Already the Visegrad Four are more or less united together against Brussels. You have a relatively sympathetic Austria to lend support, and now you have Slovenia turning towards Orban and away from Brussels. And so I'm happy to report to you all that as of today, the world has just become a little more nationalist, a little more populist, a little more traditionalist. A new conservative age is indeed rising, and we can now add Slovenia to the ever-growing list of conservative nations. May God richly bless them in the years ahead. Now, before you go, you definitely want to check out my latest video on President Trump suing the New York Times. It'll absolutely make your day, so make sure to click on the link, and I will see you over there. God bless, everyone.